European Union foreign ministers have gathered in Copenhagen to weigh sanctions on both Israel and Hamas as the Gaza war deepens. Top of the agenda is a potential suspension of the EU-Israel trade deal alongside measures aimed at curbing Hamas's military capacity. Ministers arrived under pressure to match their calls for restraint with concrete action. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot stressed the United Nations must remain a neutral sanctuary for peace. At the same time, Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke described Gaza's humanitarian crisis as catastrophic, urging Europe to turn words into action. Despite divisions among the bloc's 27 nations, diplomats say momentum is building for a coordinated response.
From this point of view, I want to remind you, following the announcements that have been made in recent hours, that the headquarters of the United Nations is a place of neutrality. It is a sanctuary, in the service of peace, where conflicts are resolved, wars are prevented, and that from this point of view, a General Assembly of the United Nations, founded 80 years ago by France, among other founding countries, cannot suffer from any restriction of access, and I would have the opportunity to express myself on this subject with my European colleagues.
Regarding Gaza, we are witnessing the most catastrophic humanitarian catastrophe. We have long been arguing that Israel should change its course, and we will do our utmost to find common ground. I don't think I reveal any secret by saying that there are nuances between the 27 countries in Europe. Our position is that we now must change words into action.
Well, let's now speak to Odunze, now on the U.S. Federal Appeals Court on Trump's global tariff and the U.S. blocking the Palestinian president from attending a New York meeting. Good to have you this weekend, Odunze. This new blockage of the Palestinian president from the upcoming UN meeting in New York, can you help us understand, the whole controversy behind it?
Thank you for having me. Yes, I will help you understand it, and you and your viewers. Right, the State Department denied visas to members of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, and also Palestinian Authority, essentially blocking them from attending the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York. The meeting starts on September 9th. The good thing is that it's going to run up to the end of September. Now, the State Department gave a few reasons. One of the reasons that they gave is that it is in the interest of America to hold these two organizations responsible for undermining the peace process in the ongoing war in Gaza. And they also said that by appealing to the International Criminal Court and also the International Criminal Justice, the PLO and the PA undermine the peace process. So they said the United States, the activities of the PLO and the PA undermines what they want to achieve in the ongoing war in Gaza. But the good part is that they also gave, when I spoke to them, they also said they have leeways. Some conditions must be met before they can retract their decision to revoke these visas. The good thing is that this meeting runs from September 9th to the end of September, so we have time to see to rectify the situation.
You mentioned, two of those conditions, Dr. Hamilton, but then. So would people be wrong then if we say Trump is not working to help Palestinians have their own region? I mean, one of the reasons given is the fact that, if you heard from the news earlier, is the fact that France and some other countries, as you know, in the UN, they're supporting the fact that, Palestine has to have its own state. So I hear you when you made the two decisions, conditions, that is from the US, and there's enough time span to, look at that visa, the revoking of the visa again. But then one of the major issue is, besides the fact that, the Palestinian leader hasn't helped in this issue, is also the fact that they wouldn't want a unilateral agreement to have a Palestinian state.
Well, it would not be wrong to say that. I don't think the Trump administration is helping the Palestinians. I don't think they want to help the Palestinians get their own region. If you look back, under the original agreement written in 1947, the United States is obligated to provide visas for international delegations. Right. This is the argument that the PA and the PLO, this is the argument that they are making. They claim that denying them visas violate this agreement. If you look back, the Trump administration, the Biden administration have, they placed, they gave PLO and the PA restored their diplomatic engagement when they come to the United States. But what Trump is doing is walking back on that, on Biden's era engagement that they lifted on the PLO so that they can come into the United States. And if you go back, when they give them this visa, they are not allowed to enter into the country. They are allowed to stay within the confines of the United Nations environment.
So can we, but I mean, looking at all of this and the controversy behind it, Odunze, can we ever have a Palestinian state, to be honest, with the war that's ongoing and, Israel not even wanting to, Benjamin Netanyahu isn't one to, accept a Palestinian state? Do we ever foresee having, a Palestinian state, despite France's push and some UN member states' push to see that come through?
To be honest with you, at this moment, the chances of a Palestinian state is extremely low. The government of Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the Palestinian state is a threat to the security of Israel. Also, Israel they've continued to expand their settlements in the occupied West Bank. The chances of Palestinian states are even lower because of the ongoing war. We don't know how long this war is going to take. Remember, you and I, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and then when they encircled Gaza, it was obvious that they are going to get going and take over Gaza, and even the environments, the communities around Gaza. So it is very, very, the idea of a Palestinian state for now is very, very low.
Well, I mean, one of the major questions, we keep asking is why is Trump against that? And can the Israeli bombardment be interpreted as a takeover plan, just like you've mentioned earlier? Why is Trump against having, a Palestinian state?
It's all about the politics, both the internal politics and the geopolitical politics of it. Yes, Trump is against it, and we know why he's against it. The authorities in the United States, and he has a lot of, like I said before, he has a lot of influence. Israel has a lot of influence in American politics. Currently, 147 out of the 193 United Nations member states formally recognize Palestinian state. That is 75% of the membership. We expect that number to grow. Maybe in September, we expect that number to grow. Trump opposes days. It is just due to political implications. A few weeks ago, Israel said that it will encircle Gaza. And you and I, like I said, we talked about this, and I knew that they were going to go in and they were going to take over Gaza. And we don't know how long this is going to take. And to be honest with you, Trump administration, they don't want this. They don't want Palestinians to have their own state.
That's quite obvious. Now, let's move to this, appeal court, federal appeal court on the Trump issue. What is your take on the federal appeals court's ruling on Trump's tariff order? There's a global tariff, and we're going to just concentrate. We have just a few minutes left. Concentrate on Africa shortly. But what's your take on the federal appeals court ruling?
Yes, the federal court appeal ruling, they ruled that Trump cannot use what they call emergency authorities to place reciprocal tariffs on nearly every country that the United States trades with. If you go back to May, the Court of International Trade also rejected Trump's argument that his global tariffs we are permitted under the emergency powers of what they call the IEEPA. In May, the judges said that IEEPA does not grant Trump the power to impose tariffs on most of the countries that the United States trades with. But if you come back to Africa, you and I, we had this conversation before. The only way for Africa to move forward in terms of tariff is if they can negotiate as a bloc. And this is what the tariff is doing. It's reconstructing the global alignment, right? It's reconstructing the global partnerships. A lot of countries in the world are forming new partnerships just so they can deal with the tariffs that America and Trump is imposing on the rest of the world. So for Africa to move forward, they have to negotiate as a bloc.
Now, I mean, I also have an issue with, just focusing on Africa. It often sounds like Africa is a country, is a continent, by the way. And we've had this conversation over and over. Sometimes when we go to some of these meetings, we go as Africa as a continent instead of, individual countries. And then we benefit little from it. But then does Trump truly have such powers without congressional input on tariffs? That is one of the clauses from this story. And also, if the Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump, what are the consequences? And if it rules against Trump, what would this mean?
The truth is that the Congress, the United States Congress, they have the power. They are the only people that have, they are the only, they have the power, the constitutional power to approve tariffs. But sometimes it has delegated some of these powers to the president through delegation. The president can impose tariffs under specific conditions. For example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 grants the president the authority to impose tariffs in response to national security threats or economic emergencies. Therefore, both the president and the Congress, they have a role to play in imposing tariffs. But Congress can use its oversight powers to require approval for some of the tariffs that Trump has imposed. So the truth is that they both have roles to play in placing tariffs on countries and what happens with trade from the perspective of the United States.
The coming days will be very interesting, fingers crossed, on what the Supreme Court will do if the Trump administration decides to approach the courts. Thank you so much, Hamilton Odunze, for joining us from Boston, Massachusetts. We had to talk about some of the major issues on the world today.